Hey everybody, how you doing? What's going on? How you feeling out there, bruh, brus, broham, broheems, all that other stuff? What is going on? How you feeling out there, everybody? This is Solar Grid, Cinematic Sorcerer, coming at you from the Wizard's Tower. And yeah, running a little late because I had to start another thing real quick. And of course, I had to do some upgrades and all that jazz to a few things that are out there today. But guess what? We did it. We got it. We got the upgrades going. We did a couple of things, and I'm very excited to show you guys all that stuff that's coming out today. All right, guys. But we have a lot of stuff to talk about, and today's show might run a little long. I'm not quite sure, but it is definitely one of those things. But let's get to it because I'm coming at you from the Wizard's Tower, and welcome to the dark side of the room. Now, this is the show where we talk about a whole bunch of gaming stuff and stuff that really helps with most creative endeavors, and sometimes, just sometimes, navigating one's way through life, the universe, and everything. So, without any further ado, if you guys want to talk to me and all that stuff and figure out, like, hey, what is it that you guys are talking about, or I got a question, or I got some comments on all this stuff, there's a couple of different ways that you can do the thing. The way number one is to send an email over to backinthedeck@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK at gmail.com. You can also hit me up on the social media that everybody has, although everyone says it sucks. We're talking Instagram and Twitter and even that wretched hive of scum and villainy known as the Facebook. But with that, you can always look up at Back in the Deck on Instagram and Twitter. If you're on the Facebook, then of course join the group Deckers on the Book. And if y'all are of the new school and doing that TikTok, tickety talk, look up BIDPY and you can see some of our stuff that's going down on all of that. Now, if you want to be part of the show, join the show and talk to us with all that stuff, just hit me up right here in the chat. That's right, we got the chat going from both platforms that we run this on, be it like seriously, be it YouTube and Twitch, and we're doing all that at the same time because we do everything at the same time because this is the 21st century and people multitask. That's just what we do. That's just one of those things. Also, this is the part of the show where I start begging, right? So, in the words of James Brown, please, 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 please subscribe to the channel, y'all. Subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube from the future, hey, subscribe. It's just a couple of clicks, guys. I'm not asking for a whole bunch. Just say, hey, what's going on? Click, subscribe. If you're already subscribed, share the channel, share the videos, all that other stuff, just to say, hey, this dude is pretty cool and he works his ever living butt off. I had somebody ask, like, hey, you do a podcast? I'm like, I do like 7 or 8. I'm live practically every day, and I'm talking on my channel Monday through Friday, and then on my friend Nerd Soul's channel. Subscribe to him too on the YouTubes. Again, this don't cost y'all nothing, but it really helps all of us out with that algorithm and bowing to our YouTube overlord so that maybe one day we could get paid. Yeah, real talk, like, I'm doing this 7 days a week for you guys, bringing you guys this information, letting you guys know that you're not alone out there. And I really do this because I want people to know that there are lots of people out there of all ages and races and creeds and religions that go through the same stuff that you do, especially when it comes to this nerd stuff. And a lot of the times, how can I put this? There seems to be like this window that comes in, and if you don't jump on, you're just not welcome, right? So this is the big thing that we are trying to figure out. You're saying that my volume seems low. How about that? All right. How about that? Oh my God. All right, cool. Yeah, that's it. I made one little change and it was like, ah. But yeah, so how about that? My volume should be all better and this should be going. Yeah, I don't have the music all the way up so hard because I get 100 different people every week telling me something different about my sound. And oh my God. So, all right, we got Nerd Soul watching on YouTube. We got Daryl, what's going on, guys? And all that stuff. Seriously, guys, NERD SOUL, check out his stuff. I'm on his channel at least 2 days a week. I'm talking Saturdays and Sundays, which means, yes, I'm live casting every single day. So subscribe to the channel, y'all. Subscribe here on Twitch with your Amazon Prime account. That actually helps me make a little money. All right. You can also, if you want to keep us alive, but you can't guarantee anything from month to month, if you just scroll down either in the description on the YouTube, or we have a little button here on Twitch, it sets us up with donations. My boy Cam has got everything set to be paid through YouTube or through PayPal. So many different things. Also, you can hit the Patreon button that's also there and become a patron. Like, seriously, it'll take you over to patreon.com/BID_P. And for as little as $5 a month, guys, you can really, really, really help us out in keeping the doors open, helping us pay for the internet. And y'all know how much computer upkeep costs, right? This is my job. So, and honestly, you guys are really the main ways that I get this done. Not to mention, the Patreon and some of the money that I make from doing odd jobs is how we keep the community outreach stuff going. It is summer. Kids are looking to do stuff, so that's me at community centers, at public parks, at Boys and Girls Clubs, teaching people how to play D&D and how to paint miniatures and how to use 3D printers. But I can't do that without your guys' help. I'm just not independently wealthy. So head on over and not just helping out me, but you're helping out these fine royalty tier patrons like Laura Holton, Jaylee Watson, Jennifer Kroll, Noel Olheiler, Glenn Couch, Christopher Chalmers, Joseph Hines, and Frank Perkins. Yeah, he didn't get written onto the thing because I haven't written him onto the thing yet. It's that simple. But with all that, let's talk about a lot of that stuff. Let me think. Oh, yeah, and if you really want it and you're like, well, you know, I like the free content and all that stuff, and I don't know if I want to pay for the content and all that stuff because there's YouTube, there's all these other things out there. Okay, all right, I get you on that. So you know what? You want me to offer you something? I can offer you something. God, I sound like such a freaking salesman. But check it out. If you guys like what you're seeing and all that stuff, well, I got merch. Look at this. Yep. All right. We got merchandise for you. We got t-shirts. And they come in all these different colors. These are just the ones that I set up. But I wanted to make sure that the wall art, yeah, the wall art. That's right. Bid P posters. What is this? Well, posters and pillows and totes. And of course, my two favorite things. And I mean this, my two favorite things. Like, all right, yeah, it's the pillow. You know, the pillow is kind of cool. And they come in so many different colors and flavors. But my favorites, all right, are the mugs. All right, y'all know I drink lots of coffee. All right, and we're having a sale right now, so the mugs are like $11 for the new white ones. And yeah, I mean, seriously, y'all, seriously. Yeah, we go through, we do all this stuff, and of course, since we are all about playing the role-playing games and all that stuff, what? Notebooks. All right, we got them notebooks going. We love them notebooks. Notebooks. All right, so y'all can keep your notes and all that stuff. We already got 5 of them sold. That's awesome. People do like the notebooks, and we got them in the different colors. We got them in white and charcoal gray. Of course, I've got to fix the copy on this, and of course, you know, the back in the deck logo and all that stuff. So we got the merch. We got the Patreon. We got all these different ways for people to talk to us and help us out. All right, so let us get to the show. All right, because seriously, and I mean this, seriously, we have a lot to talk about, and for once, just for today, guys, today ain't gonna be super heavy. I want to talk about something really, really awesome. And before I do that, all right, I want to give a shout out to all my people that are saying, hey, how you doing? because I don't want to be like, hey, how you doing? Sorry you can't get through, but you leave your name and your number. And no, that's all cool. That's right. I went that old school. All right. But like I was saying, I want to say what's up to my people in the chat. We're talking Clever Little Vixen holding down like gravity. Elizabeth and is Nickable. Neon Arlecchino, Sad Strange Little Man, the Sofa King, the Superman, the King himself of living room furniture. We got Soy Clubberville, Super 8 over on them YouTubes. We also got the yeah, we also got Daryl Couch and of course Nerd Soul checking us out over on the YouTubes. And I'm glad that he's here because um so real talk, I've mentioned a conversation that we had. Now I'm gonna put a name to it, all right? Today's talk. All right, today's talk. Well, how can I put this? Give me just a second here. I know what I'm gonna do. I am going to come on in and have you ever wondered why the text in these books are so bland? That's right. See, that was my YouTube introduction, so I can pull a little part of this segment, put it up on YouTube, and I'll have more short form content. So, yeah, it's a thing. But today, I want to talk about, well, how can I put it? Yesterday, one of my regular deckers here on Twitch yelled something from under his bridge when it comes to playing the game, and I'm like, yeah, today we're gonna talk about flavoring your RPG, flavoring your games, flavoring your ideas. All right, and we're gonna flavor it with something other than salt. All right, I'm saying this because sometimes a lot of people feel bland when it comes to playing their characters or doing their stuff. And well, a lot of people are like, salty. Back in my day, Mage Hand did the bread, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just going, yeah, that's nice. Good for you. Good for you. I feel like Christian Bale. Just good for you. But yeah. So what I want to bring up, okay, and this is a real thing. All right, this is something that is something that really, really, really stands out to me as one of my favorite things that comes when I'm playing a tabletop role playing game, or, and this is a big thing, okay, or when I'm writing stories. All right, now we're gonna start with spells on this one. And don't worry, we're not gonna be like, oh yeah, look at me, you gotta be this big old dork in order to get it. It's not even that, all right? But gotta start we gotta start the descriptions and all that stuff somewhere. Okay, so what I'm talking about is flavor. Now I was talking to the Nerd Soul, that's NERDSOUL, like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. And he brought up something. He brought up something that I really, 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 really never thought about in regards to playing the role playing games, because I've been doing so for a long time. And he's like, I want to bring stuff in from the fighting game community. I want to be like, sure you can, or do a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm like, bro, explain to me what it is you mean. And he explained it. And I'm like, bro, you can do that already. Okay? What you're talking about is flavoring your descriptions, right? This is really big, right? It's a really, really big thing because so many people get caught up in I'm not going to say rules as written, but descriptions as written and the mechanics. Okay, it's a mechanic thing. Now, a lot of people look at stuff as numbers. I just want to do the numbers. I like the numbers. Can I do the thing and roll the dice? All right. Now, but what we're gonna do today is we're gonna look at a couple of things and talk about flavor. All right. What do I mean by flavor? Well, I'm gonna go real simple, right? The super simple explanation I can give you is in combat. Um, in combat, people are like, I hit it with my axe. All right, make an attack roll. All right, you hit it. Roll your damage roll. Blah blah blah. Unless you're at my table, where I'm like, all right, you just want to swing your axe at it? Yeah, make a roll and tell me what the damage is. What, did I hit it? I'm like, I'm not going to tell you whether or not you hit it. I just want you to know how much damage would be done if you do. All right, so then they can do that and I can describe what happens, right? And when I describe what happens, I look at them and I'm like, you take your axe and you flex your fingers almost to white knuckling. You can feel the tenseness in your shoulders. Twitch with the sinew of your muscles, and after which you call upon the powers of your ancestors and the anger of every bully that tried to throw you in a locker, and you swing with all of your might, and the sword lands on the gelatinous squishy flesh of the undead monster with almost a sound, and you can hear the scream as your axe penetrates the flesh and you do 8 points of damage. What did I do there? I flavored the encounter. All right, I flavored what's going on. I could have been like, you hit him, you did 8 points of damage. And that's what most people think when it comes to, I'm going to do this, I'm going to roll the dice. All right? Now, things that a character can do, it's one thing to say, I punch him. It's another thing to say, you know what? I'm tired of this dude. I'm going to give him an uppercut at his chin. All right. And this guy is going to feel my whole weight because I am going to put that uppercut right there under his chin. Matter of fact, I'm going to aim for the stomach and I'm going to punch him in the freaking top of the head by way of his stomach. And I am going to scream, Soryuken! Okay, roll your unarmed strike. You know, I mean, that is what I'm talking about. The book says unarmed strike. But what is that strike? What body part do you use? That is up to you as a player to decide and to describe. Okay? I like to show people this concept when it comes to spells. All right? Because spells have a little bit of flavor within their descriptions. All right, just a little bit of flavor. All right, and what does that mean? Well, let's take a look at the spells. Look at these guys. We got the spells going over here. Okay, so I'm looking at my chat and I'm like, all right, we'll start with Acid Splash because it's at the top of the list and it's the simplest to go. Let's see. I like playing monk so I can roll a bunch of d20s while going muda muda budai. Yeah, exactly. You know, I would do that with a fighter. Who's to say they know what they're talking about? I mean, how many times have people that have never studied Kung Fu gone, woo, when they're about to get into a fight? It happens, you know, because we all watch the movies, right? At least if you're in my generation, you have. If you're a millennial, just after, you're going, no, I don't want trouble. I don't want trouble. Ladder. And of course, if you're a little younger than that, then you've got Jet Li and Danny Yang. It's all those things. But let's take a quick look. All right, let's just take a quick look at Acid Splash. Now, Acid Splash, it's you hurl a bubble of acid. Choose one creature you can see within range, or choose two creatures you can see within range that are within 5 feet. A target must succeed on a dexterity saving throw, or take 1d6 acid damage. This spell at higher levels, this spell's damage increases by 1d6 when you reach 5th level, 2d6 11th level, 3d6 at 17th level, 4d6, right? What does it say? You hurl a bubble of acid, okay? And this is where flavor comes in. Yeah, you hurl a bubble of acid, okay? It's a bubble. That's what the text says. But does it have to be a bubble? Can we shape it like a chicken? Can we shape it like, I don't know, a glass? Okay? It just says a bubble, okay? And most of your game masters or dungeon masters, if you're using D&D, won't have you stick to bubble. All right, let's take a look. Let's say I throw an acid chicken at it. Blah. You know, um, when I when I see stuff, especially with new players, I start asking questions, and sometimes they can get a little bit sick. Like, you hurl a bubble of acid at your character. That's all it says, right? You hurl a bubble. That is what it says. That's what you do. Let's take another look at that. You hurl a, you hurl a bubble of acid. That is what you got, right? That is where it is. You have a bubble. All right. Now let's really take a look at this and see how we can flavor this in a fun way. Okay. Um, Bubble. Now, let's say that we are gonna stick with bubble. All right. Let's just say we stick with bubble. We stick with um we stick with it's a bubble. It's got to be round. It's got to be a sphere. Fine. Where does the bubble come from? Okay? Does it come from your staff? Does it come from your fingers? Your mouth? Your nose? All right? I mean, you hurl a bubble. Where do you get the bubble? And this is flavor. Okay? And why is flavor so important? Because the thing that we are trying to avoid when we play these games is sameness. All right? I want to talk about the most popular cantrip in all of D&D. All of D&D. The most popular cantrip, the thing that everybody uses, right? And you all know where I'm about to go. Let's see if the chat is going to say something. Is going to say something in regards to this. What is the cantrip that every single person has? And let's see what we got. No, Clever Little Vixen is not acid chicken. Let's see. What do we got? Well, hey, let's take a quick look. Eldritch Blast. Okay, the most popular cantrip that is out there. All right, why? Because it does 1d10 force damage. But let's look at the description. A beam of crackling energy streaks toward the creature within range. Make a ranged spell attack against the target. On a hit, the target takes 1d10 force damage. All right, that's fair. That's fair. All right, but a beam. A beam of crackling energy. Okay. All right. Cool. It's a beam of crackling energy. All right. We got that. We're all on the same page. All right. Cool. What color is it? Is it energy like electricity? Is it like a laser beam? Is it like lightning? You know, I would love, like, when I think of Eldritch Blast, when I first learned the spell all those years ago, I saw black lightning. And no, I don't mean a whole bunch of black dudes in blue leather coming out of my fingertips. I mean black thunder and lightning coming out of the fingertips, right? But some people like the idea of of um of flavoring their Eldritch Blast. They like it coming out of their eyes. You know, if you're playing a game and you're trying to do like an X-Men type thing, you know, your Eldritch Blast can come out of your chest like Havoc. You know, that's the type of thing I'm talking about. Now we got Daryl over here saying the problem I always had is being long-winded or showing off too much. I get that. I totally get that. You know, you don't need to do a monologue with your flavoring, but just to say, my Eldritch Blast, looks like a red laser beam coming out of my eyes, but only when I wear my glasses, and my character's name is Scott. You know, it's fine. It's perfectly fine. You know, that's your Eldritch Blast. Comes out of your eyes. Thank you to know. Because the spell description doesn't say where the blast come from. It lets you flavor. It opens up that door. Now, there are some spells that have their own, that have certain somatic components and things like that, right? One of my favorites, it's a lower level spell, Okay. Let me see if I can find it. Um, because yeah, it's literally D&D 5e spells roll 20. That's where it is. Roll 20 compendium. All right. I like the way that that looks better anyway. Um, hmm. Hello, spell list. Oh, ha, ha, ha. Ooh, wow. Yeah, chat's really going off on that. So I'm going to find the spell that I really like because this actually has a description that doesn't seem like it has a lot of room for flavor. But believe me, there's always room for some sort of flavor. And we are talking burning hands. All right. Now let's read the spell as written. All right. It's a 15-foot cone, which means it goes 3 squares out at a 45-degree angle. The components are verbal, blah, 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 and somatic. Okay. But it's as you hold your hands with thumbs touching and fingers spread. A thin sheet of flame shoot from your outstretched fingertips. Each creature within a 15-foot cone must make a dexterity saving throw. Now, what does that mean? All right, we'll get back to it. But how does that leave room for flavor, you might ask? Well, again, it says, real quick, your hands have to be like this. Okay? If it's like this, that flaming hands, those flames are going to be going into the sky. And don't get me wrong, I'm all about going, shh, can you feel it? Ooh, can you feel it? You know, but if you have to do this, cast your spell. Where is the flavor? And the answer is very simple. What colors are they? Do they come out in swirls? You know, and the thing is, you can flavor all of your effects either when it comes to regular fighting and all that stuff. You can do that, okay, as you describe it to them. Or you can sit down with your GM and describe what your spells look like. Now, if you guys watch Warp Tumblers, all right, be it Dark Matter, Fantasy, C24, you will hear me ask, okay, how does that spell manifest? All right. You know, how does that particular thing work? Okay. And the truth is, this is me trying to inspire the players to think outside of I swing my sword and I hit it, or I cast entangle. Okay, well, describe to me how it would look. All right, and if your game is set up where people do 3 quick sentences, 3 quick sentences describing what they want to do, you will be surprised at how much more immersion you have in regards to doing this. All right. And this is big all over the board. In professional wrestling, they call it selling it. All right. If you take a look at a professional wrestler, I'm going to go back super old school because I stopped watching wrestling like 20 years ago, but the process is still about the same. All right. When you look at Hulk Hogan's finishing moves, all right, they're real finishing moves. All right, what do you see? You see Hulk Hogan jumping on somebody and landing on their chest with his leg. That's all. That's what he called it. That's it. All right. But it's not even that. It's all right, brother. And when I have you on the ground and I run across the squared circle and I jump and I hit you with the leg of justice, brother, that's when I know it's gonna be 1, 2, 3. You're gonna be counted out because you didn't have the main 3, the prayers, the vinabins, all that other stuff, right? All right. I mean, seriously. All the Ultimate Warrior did was throw somebody behind him, run across and jump on top of him. But when you do all of the descriptions, okay, when you just do 1 or 2 sentences, It's oh no, man. I'm gonna take my laser sword. Yeah, and I am serious. I'm gonna reverse hand my laser sword, and I'm gonna run at him, and then I am going to insert Japanese word from anime here, right through the center of him. You know, all that is I run up to him and I hit him with my sword. Okay. Um, but it doesn't have to be just that. Wow, yeah, I'm loving how the chat's going off today. Let's see, Professor X is basically a patron. Yeah, he provides funding, care, gadgets, healing, training, and intervenes in emergency. Yeah, it's true. An X-Men Warlock campaign could work really, really well. It could. When I think of the X-Men, I tend to think of sorcerers because X-Men tend to have one power that they make work really, really well. And that works for warlocks and sorcerers, especially when it comes to using meta magic and sorcery points, and we'll get to that in time. Daryl. Yeah, because of the components of the spells, I would say I cover my hands in oil and cause friction to ignite my hands. Then point. And this is a second thing. When you want to talk to your GM about flavoring spells, flavoring your moves, all right? It's real. And you can always talk to your dungeon master and reflavor totally quite a few, man. There's Colossus, there's Kitty Pryde, there's definitely Storm, there's Wolverine. Like a lot of X-Men use more than Eldritch Blast. You can talk to your GM about how you envision using this spell now, or using any spell, or using any effect. All right. Using stuff from the fighting game community is huge. Okay, it's huge, especially when it comes to the martial classes like ranger, fighter, and paladins. Oh my god. All right? Because seriously, like let's take a paladin who is first on the field and does the big splash of damage as the opening move if they want to. Sounds like One Punch Man to me. It's just one punch with a freaking warhammer. Call me crazy. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna cast this one spell to concentrate because I think a fight's coming. So I'm gonna concentrate Wrathful Smite. And now I'm gonna take my hammer and I'm gonna look at the guy and I'm gonna be like, insert random Japanese phrase from an anime that you guys like that I haven't watched yet. And then I'm gonna take my hammer and I am going to uppercut him in the mouth. Haha, critical hit. And I'm gonna use a divine smite on top of that. Yes! I did 1d8 plus my strength bonus plus 2d8 necrotic damage plus 2d8 divine damage with this. Yeah! And it was a critical. So I double that damage and he's down. And then you can look at him and quote Ken or something. You see what I mean? Well, they could bring back those old combat feeds. Yeah, old gamer yells at clouds. All of those things that a lot of people want to do, Daryl, with a lot of that stuff, turns the game from Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition to Pathfinder, which means less accessible to new players. Let's be real. But Pathfinder is still out there, as is D&D 2nd edition. You know, and trust me, you can spend the next 10 years getting into D&D 2nd edition. All right? But yeah, I mean, that's kind of my whole point when it comes to stuff like that. Flavoring your actions, flavoring your spells, super easy. And yeah, I've ranted about that for a half hour. But we ain't done. Okay? Because I've talked about this. In my day, when we were playing Dungeons and Dragons in the day with Thaco, we used to call this skinning. You know, skinning, like that thing, not the thing that you do with a rabbit if you're living in the woods or in the Ozarks, okay? But skinning was the opposite. We call it's more like dressing it up. You know, you got that dressing it up feeling you got there. Y'all don't know about that. That's all whole thing. Yeah, my old man's coming out. I know. Okay, but you can totally skin. Now, Neon Arlecchino, 5 minutes ago, brought up a great example of skinning or flavoring. All right, it is totally possible to reflavor spells, to reflavor character classes, even to reflavor character archetypes, if you will. All right. The abilities in the games and all that stuff, it's so versatile if your players, not just your dungeon master, but the other players at the tables there are open to it. Example. I'm gonna test out the old the player's guide, and I want to take a look at one particular thing because this is a skin or a flavor that is huge. Okay, a lot of people talk about this, and there are a couple of ways to do it, and this is a question that I get a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean a whole bunch. We shall turn to page 149 of the Player's Handbook, and we shall look at one of the weapons. We call it a light crossbow, or even a heavy crossbow. Okay, and what we have is the crossbow. The heavy crossbow does 1d10 piercing damage. The longbow does 1d8 piercing damage. Where else? The short bow does 1d6 piercing damage. Now, I want you to keep in mind 1d6, 1d8, and 1d10. All right? And how much does the light crossbow? And 1d8. So 1d8 tends to be that, right? Now, I'm going to turn to our holy book of 5e in space, known as Espogenesis, and I shall find the other weapons. Within the weapons table, we have guns, all right? The light pistol does 1d6 piercing. The short rifle does 1d8 piercing. The arm pistol does 1d6 piercing. The auto pistol does 1d6 piercing with burst fire. The heavy pistol does burst fire at 1d8. The heavy rifle does, 2d6. The sniper rifle does 2d8. And the shotgun does 1d8. All right? And is there any other? Yeah, we got grenade launchers and other stuff. But if you notice, 1d8, 1d6 piercing tends to be the biggest thing. All right? So if your character wants to skin their crossbows and their bows to be guns, well, the guns do the same amount of damage. Okay, they have things like burst fire and stuff like that, and I'm sure you can skin. And this is DM work. This is flavor. All right? Now, if you guys watched Vox Machina, there were a couple of things when it came to Percy's gun that made it an artificer's weapon. All right? But I'm almost willing to bet dollars to donuts that it either had a magical effect on it that was similar to Eldritch Blast, or it had a lot of things in common with a crossbow. All right? And having used both guns and crossbows, I can let you know, when it comes to single shot rifles and muskets, you're not getting off more than 2 shots in 6 seconds. Sorry to tell you. Now, I know we live in Western civilization where people see gun and it equals death. Have you ever thought about what it would be like to be shot by an arrow whose arrowhead is about 1.5 inches wide? Okay, that's some hard stuff. All right, that is some really hard stuff. And there are so many different arrowheads that do more than put a line through you like a 45 does. There's some that cut arteries and some that get caught up on the bones. I mean, it's brutal and it's ugly. All right? But if your character wants a gun and they're fine with a crossbow that looks like a gun that only holds 1 bullet at a time, and you have to reload it by taking, you've got to reload it or cock it using a bonus action, why not? If they've got crossbow, if they have proficiency in crossbow and the crossbow expert feat, why not? Okay? And that's the biggest thing. When it comes to adding your flavor in any role-playing game that you have, this is a game of imagination. And the worst thing that we can possibly do is limit our imagination to exactly what the rules as written are saying. If we do this with absolutely, yeah, thank you, Daryl. You know what I'm talking about. If we do all this stuff from a standpoint of this is what the book says, so that's all we're going to do, everything else is cheating, you'll have an okay time. But if you open your mind to larger descriptions and adding more flavors to your descriptions and to what certain things can be interpreted as, and you stick not as much with rules as written and closer to rules as intended, then your game opens up to so many different worlds. And that, I want to yeah, take a look outside the book. You're playing RPGs. You're playing RPGs. I'm never gonna get the show now. And you don't have to take my word for it. But yeah, I mean, seriously, true. Seriously, it's out there. But when it comes to all this stuff, there's also a layer of language and preconceived notions that I want to talk about, okay? Because this is really important for flavor. When I talk to new players, most new players in good faith, a lot of new players in bad faith. And I'm just going to put this out there right now. I am too old and too tired to deal with people in bad faith. And that's just where I'm gonna leave that. All right. But let's take the flavoring of crossbow as a gun. All right. I go big with descriptions and stuff like that. But when someone says, yeah, I pull out my gun and I do this, right? If the players are going, no, man, gun equals death. That's all. Nothing is more powerful than a gun. Because in the real world, and it's like, stop. My character is a black-skinned, pointy-eared elf that grew up underground that used various types of fungus and fauna for light, who worshipped a god that is half black-skinned, pointy-eared elf and half giant spider. And you're telling me that a gun that isn't lethal every time it hits is unbelievable? Come on. You know, half non-existent thing, half giant version of something that none of us like. All right. So really, guys, it really comes down to a whole lot of that. Now, there are some questions about flavoring things within the spirit of the setting. Okay. Like, as you guys can see, I have absolutely no problem flavoring things in, say, Dungeons and Dragons with gunpowder technology. Okay, I don't. However, all right. Wow, Vixen, almost. He doesn't live in a cave. He lives under a bridge. Okay, but he is our troll. So yeah, back under your bridge. Okay, nothing wrong with bad religion. Because D&D is very fast and loose with what time period it's set in. But I do draw the line at fossil fuel technology. Y'all ain't getting a car. Okay, this is more Avatar: The Last Airbender and less Legend of Korra. You're not getting a car. You're not getting a tank unless the tank is being carried by 8 guys It's like the tank body, and you've got like ogres and dwarves and all that stuff carrying stuff and just running over people and bashing them with the tank. All right, that is the closest thing that you're gonna get in my games that are straight up fifth edition, the Dungeons and the Dragons, right? Because again, exploration and all that stuff, that's a big thing, and there ain't much exploration when you can travel 60 miles per hour in a direction and you're only traveling 24. Okay, how many times are y'all going somewhere that's 20 minutes away and go, hey, what's over here, blah blah blah? You see what I mean? um so yes, but the giant tortoise doesn't have treads. That's kind of my point. Nor does the giant tortoise. Actually, no, the giant tortoise could probably go about 60 miles per hour. You know, there are horses and things like that. But that's the thing I'm talking about. All right, we have to keep our flavoring, our flavor within the spirit of the setting and the genre that we're using. This is also how we flavor it with more than just salt. Because I've seen people get so salty, like just dill and salt. That's all they are. Actually, dill, salt, and I don't know. Give me something that's bitter. But just yeah, salty, sour, and bitter. That's all they are. They're like, that's stupid. That don't make sense. And I'm like, bro, why are you here? You know, this is vinegar. All right, no, vinegar is more tangy. Not really bitter. Burnt food, bitter. Yeah, burnt. We're talking like char. Yeah, there we go, char. Just yeah, salty, charred up, and bit and sour. All right. So yeah, that's the thing. Um, so yeah, when it comes down to these things, all right. Um, You know, I'm about to ask you if you've got kids with all these puns. You're like throwing the dad jokes left, right, and say, if they're flavored with dill, salt, and vinegar, then you'd be in a pickle. Of course, I'm going to use that. So there. Thank you for giving me more dad jokes. Um, but yeah, so when all of this stuff comes down to it, the question is, how willing are you to be um descriptive? Okay, how willing are you to be descriptive? Because there are limits, but there's way fewer. I got to tell one of my players who's like, well, you know, it's like you put us in the sandbox and we're just kind of playing around in it. And I'm like, I did. The thing that I'm trying to get you to understand is I didn't put you in a, I put you in a sandbox, but the sandbox is about the size of the Gobi Desert, and it has every toy ever produced. All right. So the fact of the matter is, there is so much that you can do because I don't have to worry about rendering graphics, nor do I have to worry about paying writers and buying hundreds of servers to render stuff. You see what I mean? These are storytelling games with our own imagination. You know, when I play games like in the world of darkness, all right, there are so many vampiric powers and wizard powers and all that fantasy stuff in modern day, and I get to play with so many different descriptions of how my magic manifests or doesn't manifest. You know, if I'm playing a vampire and I've got alacrity, oh man, you know, do they see a blur? You know, do I pull out one of those gymnastics dancing ribbons before I use my super speed? You know, do they see sparkles? Are they engulfed in darkness? Do I try and make them feel cold, but not so cold that it interferes with their stats? You see what I mean? You have got so much language, so many descriptions. If you open up and imagine, as long as the imagination that you use doesn't immediately jump to, and then I win. Okay? You can use those axe descriptions and you can feel the mush and the crunch as your axe hits against their bones, and you can feel their arms snap. But if that doesn't kill the monster outright, they get an attack too. Okay, that's just a real thing. Um, they too get an attack. And if you're going, but I broke his arm. Welcome to fighting monsters. Okay? So you can, I mean, quite seriously, part of the fantasy and all that is going a little bit beyond what is normally considered believable and standard. Okay? Um when I if you guys were watching C24 last week, you heard me describing what it was like to walk through a swamp, okay? And just and that was a realistic description. Um where I was talking about you can feel the moistness of the ground cool down your feet. You could feel it cool down your feet, and slowly you can feel the moistness penetrating through the leather of your boots, and every time you try and pull up your leg you can feel a suction, not a suction like a creature trying to hold you down, but like the earth itself doesn't want to let you go. And as each step pulls out of the fort or out of the moist ground, you can hear with every single step. You can feel a squish of and a when you put your foot down every time. I'm not a voice actor because I always do this stuff. You know, um, the fact of the matter is that's just me describing what it's like walking through the swamp. I love the look on my players' face when they were like, "Oh my God, wet sand on socks, not good." I'm like, more like wet socks and oatmeal. Oh God, that's even worse. Yeah, it is, because walking through muck sucks. Okay. And now, if you take that kind of stuff and go to the next level, the unrealistic level, the part that makes this fantasy, you can add one or two different things, since I've watched so much TV, so many movies, and I've read so many books, my descriptions, I choose the flavor of visceral. But you don't have to be visceral. Okay? You don't have to hear the cracking of resetting bones every time the monster comes closer. It really doesn't that isn't that doesn't have to be the go-to. You can describe things in awesome ways. You know, I have a character in one of my games that loves casting fairy fire. And I know when I'm playing a bard and I have dancing lights, oh, those lights could look like so many things. If I'm playing a rock star, those dancing lights are going around, sometimes like disco balls, sometimes like lights at a rock concert. That all depends on the song that I'm going to sing. You get what I mean? Sometimes the dancing lights can be strobes and they just go either way, you know. But the descriptions that you use for the stuff that you want to be and that you want to do, that's all up to you. And that is a huge proponent of what makes games like these fun. Okay? Because I'm not going to lie. A lot of people ask me all the time, why do you like playing these games? And I'm like, I get a lot of bang for my buck. All right? RPGs, especially tabletop RPGs, they're not just fun while they're happening. They're fun to remember. This is why every time you talk to somebody who plays RPGs, they want to tell you about that one game they were in that time. It's fun for them to describe what happens because these are games of descriptions. And if you have any aspirations to be a writer, either fanfic or you want to write screenplays or whatever, these flavors are fantastic. Okay? And if you add flavor other than salt and scorch and dill, you can take so many things and make them yours. Okay? Not as much original as individuated. Um, excuse me. you know, um, you know, in the last game of C24 last Monday, yeah, I totally pulled the Swamps of Sadness from the Neverending Story, but I described it in the way that I imagine it when I'm watching the movie or reading the book. I don't read from the book page for page because I haven't had a copy of the Neverending Story for decades. you know, I was actually waiting for somebody to be like, "Stupid horse," but um, but to take that thing that's there and describe it differently, give it your own flavor, your own spin. All right, this is what flavoring is. So it doesn't just have to be, I hit it with my axe. I punch him in the face. I I cast fairy fire. I cast fireball. You know, um, it comes down to instead of saying I do the thing, okay, I do the thing. I I tell the NPC that I want them to give me the key to the door. So I'm going to use a persuasion check. That's descriptive. That's fine. If you're at my table, I'm going to be like, so what do you say? Let's role play this out. You know, but if you're going to be like, I think I'll persuasively urge them to give me the key because after all, man, we're buddies, right? I mean, hey, you're from Tuscan, I'm from Sicily, we're both Italians. Let's do that whole thing. Yeah, let's do all that stuff. It's not like we're talking about the Spanish here, am I right? And yeah, that is kind of the thing that we can do. Now, when I talk about flavors, please, please, please avoid stereotypes. Tropes are fine, stereotypes are not because they can kind of offend people. But when it comes to describing, I know I walk a line a lot. And if you guys were able to see my after game conversations with people, I'm always going, did I go too far on that? Because I don't want to step on anybody's toes. And I know a lot of my descriptions can be a little, especially when I'm describing darker things. Like I say, I go visceral. And visceral means descriptions that elicit a physical response. So I use a lot of automatopoeias like crack and crackle and shattering and all of that stuff. When I'm talking about stuff and I'm trying to establish a mood of fear or threat, but at the same time, I use a lot of visceral descriptions when it comes to good things, like the cuteness of a puppy and how big their eyes are, and they look up and the eyes are looking at someone with in their eyes, or when I talk about kids coming up and grabbing the legs of their parents, and using bad grammar, I mean, things like that, you know, and this isn't limited to the GM, and it's not solely the GM's job. It is the tool and opportunity for everyone in the game. There's a YouTube video I saw not too long ago that kept saying flavor is free. Flavor is free. You don't need to talk your GM into giving +1 weapons or super high armor or all that stuff to do flavor. Flavor is free. Flavor is simply your descriptions of what you imagine and your willingness to do more than just say the bare minimum. Okay? So, yeah, I am a wizard. Well, what color are your robes? Do you wear do you wear a hat? Do you have a long beard? Because wizard in most things generally means old white guy with a beard longer than the hair on his head. A whole lot of things like this, and he's carrying a big staff. Okay? Make no mistake. All right? And don't get me wrong. A lot of those are tropes that are out there. A lot like, in a lot of ways, like Lil Saul. Except Lil Saul himself, isn't he adorable? He don't have that long beard. And no, I'm not gonna wear that costume on air until I hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, or or 150 subscribers on Twitch. Just saying. Um, but yeah, but I mean, just the staff and the pointy hat. But you know what? My favorite wizard in fiction or in non-comic fiction wears jeans, tennis shoes, and a trench coat. You know, um, my favorite wizard in comic books. Yeah, my favorite wizard in comic books wears nice button-up white shirts, and a tie, and he smokes chains. Um, Strike that, reverse it. Chain smoke him? No, he chain smokes. Um, but yeah, so the fact of the matter is is the flavor of all of these things are all up to you. Okay, your characters don't have to look like they do in any piece of media. They can look however you describe them to. Your spell effects don't have to look a certain way. You can describe them. You can describe how they look however you want. I literally did see someone that's like, yeah, magic missile just says beams of missiles. I'm gonna shape my beams of missiles like chickens because I'm a halfling wizard that grew up with a chicken farm. I'm like, dude, that's brilliant. I hit him with my magic chickens. Um, you know, when I play things like um when I play things like a conjuration wizard and I conjure up a wizard's weapon, it can be as ornate or as wacky as I want it to be. Because the mechanics make absolutely no difference. Okay, the mechanics don't change. All right, at least not in D&D 5th edition, which is the popular thing. In 3.5 and Pathfinder, they have something called masterwork. And if something is masterwork, you can make it super ornate and it changes the stats. Sometimes it does more damage or has more durability, yada, 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 yada. But the principle of it is exactly the same. It's all exactly the same. Your spells can look however you want your spells to look. Your punches can look however you want them to look. All right? One of my favorite weapons for flavor in all role playing games is the club. I'm dead serious for club. For flavor, the club is great because some people think it's club like Captain Caveman, which means an elongated stick and a teardrop function. But you know what? Table leg, that's a club. Tree branch, that's a club too. Giant building that I can never get into because I don't dress cool and have cool shoes, that too is a club. Um, you know, but yeah, I like when if it's a stick with a freaking rock that's been tied to the top of it, that's a club too. You can have 100 different types of clubs of their description. Sure, they'll all do 1d6 bludgeoning damage. Who cares? It's your club. It's your sword. It's your punch to the face. Hmm. You know, um, but the fact of the matter is, it could be a little model of a nightclub on a stick. I'm gonna hit him with my nightclub. You mean your nightstick? No, my nightclub. And if I was a bard, I'd cast dancing lights on the inside of it, and maybe a little bit of thaumaturgy, so you can hear the from the inside. It doesn't do anything to the damage, but you know what? They're literally being hit with a nightclub. I mean, I dig the whole thing. Yes, it's a far stretch for a pun, but all in all, it's there. But seriously, just describing that and me laughing like this is literally me having fun with flavor, and this is what I'm trying to open up. All right. Um. And so yeah, what is yep, we've got somebody going off about kobolds again. Um. Woohoo! Gotta love Spectrum. All right, I'm having a little bit of a problem over here with the internet, so I don't know if I'm still on, but I think I am. I think I'm still good. Yeah, I think I'm still good. Yeah, I'm still good. Um, yeah. So, but seriously, these are all things that you guys can do and you guys can use in your games or in your writing or whatever it is that you guys are putting out there. Okay? Um, so I want you guys to consider that. And oh, I'm being played off. All right. Yeah, I want you guys to consider all of those things and let us know what's going on and what you think about doing these things. And if you guys want to yeah, oh, sorry. My player was like, something went wrong, reload the player. I'm like, ah. But anyway, um but yeah, if you guys dig it and have like questions about how to get this stuff done or how to do it in your ways, I totally get that. I 100% get that. So you know what I'm gonna say? I'm gonna say that y'all can hit hit up anybody, any of us, over on the Discord, right there. Oh man, really? Really? I lost my chat again, but y'all should be able to see it in the chat. Let me just double check on that. Yep. I am starting to have some technical difficulties, but that's okay because we're coming to the end of the show. Ha 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 ha. But yeah, so yeah, feel free. Hit it up in the chat. Do the thing. Do your thing. And of course, if you guys you know, if you guys want to hit the Discord and have this stuff, have these conversations out there, then yeah, let's just put a new invitation to the Discord, hit the link, and of course, send me an email at backinthe.deck@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK @gmail.com. You can also hit me up on Twitter and Instagram, or as I like to say, the social media that everybody has and everybody hates. On Twitter and Instagram, also at Back in the Deck. You can find me also over on TikTok under BidP. And if you are on that wretched hive of scum and villainy known as Facebook, you can hit us up over on Deckers on the Book. This has been super fun, guys. I love having these discussions. I love talking to you guys about this stuff. And if you guys like what you've seen, again, subscribe to the channel, share all that stuff, get the people involved, because seriously, we talk about this stuff. And I really like being here for new players that are looking for advice, and of course, older players to trade some licks. All right? So join us tomorrow, okay? Tomorrow, because we've got 2 subjects happening tomorrow. Okay, actually, we've got one major subject to talk about, which is when you're not in well, actually, it's 2 big things. It's when you're not in combat, i.e., the rest of role-playing games, and action economy, and how not to be a slave to action economy. And y'all don't have to take my word. Just look up D&D videos on YouTube, and you'll see all these people talking about how to maximize and optimize your action economy and blah, 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 blah. But very few of them talk about maximizing or optimizing fun. And that's what I'm focusing on this week. Yesterday, we talked, about short rests and how short rests can be made fun. Today, we talked about flavor, another tool in your fun box. And tomorrow, we're going to be talking about stuff to do when you're not in your combat that's fun, and when the game is needless, the game's needless math being action economy. Okay, just to give you guys a bit of a preview, most of the players and channels that focus on action economy get stuck in using any role-playing game, but especially D&D and Pathfinder, as tabletop miniatures games, meaning they're creating their characters for the fight, just the fight, and nothing but the fight. And when you have a balanced character in balanced games, you can have fun all the time instead of frustration of looking for the next fight and not getting it. But until then, if anybody tells you that you can't like what you like because of the circumstances of your birth, be it race, religion, creed, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability, or your budget, you can just look at them and tell them to take any of those cards and put them back in the deck. This is Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, saying thank you guys for hanging out with me, and we will see you next time on the dark side of the room.